I'm Ryan Yamamoto, and this is a minute. A homicide suspect is in custody after an hours-long standoff in San Jose. Police found the body of a woman after responding to a possible shooting just after 6 p.m. This happened on North 20th Street and East San Juan. Investigators say the suspect surrendered after barricading himself inside the home. The man convicted of attacking Paul Pelosi will be resentenced today. Earlier this month, David DePape was sentenced to 50 years in his federal case, but he's being resentenced today due to a court error. That mistake is unlikely to impact his sentencing. New numbers on the amount of fentanyl seized in California. Governor Newsom's office announcing today that around 5.8 million pills have been seized statewide this year. 2.3 million of those last month alone. The state attributes the seizures to its new counter-drug task force. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute.
Heading into this afternoon along our coastline, we are going to see some gusty conditions. Wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour are expected close to the 3 o'clock hour near Bodega Bay. About a 30 mile per hour wind gust expected just near San Francisco at the same hour. We'll see breezy conditions all throughout the afternoon and evening hours today. But the other big weather story for us, it actually has to do with the heat right around the corner. Daytime highs are going to be above average as we head into this upcoming week, getting closer to the first couple days of June. We are showing well above average conditions throughout the whole state of California, pretty much all the West Coast. That's issued by the Climate Prediction Center, but take a look at this. This is what it's going to look like for us. Let's use San Jose as an example. 80s in the forecast as we head into our Thursday setup. We'll average out a little bit into the weekend, and then we warm right back up into the upper 80s right around the corner. But that's not where we're at today. Today, we're still holding on tight to the 60s near San Francisco, 70s up into the North Bay, at least near Petaluma. We hit the 80s near Santa Rosa, and all the way over into the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley we go. We're expecting mostly 70s from Antioch down into Livermore, a similar setup just near San Jose. But watch what happens throughout all of our inland areas throughout the next 7 days. We'll see a lot of sunshine in the forecast for us. Day by day, we warm up quick. I mean, just into our into our Thursday forecast, we're expecting upper 80s right around the corner. It starts to average out as we head into our weekend forecast with 70s by Saturday, 80s right back into our Sunday setup. Now, that's our inland areas. If you live closer to the Bay or the coast, San Francisco and Oakland, we're going to be seeing some upper 70s as early as Wednesday into Thursday. Plenty of sunshine there. And then those partly cloudy skies, especially along the coastline, kind of hold on tight to us heading into our weekend forecast with upper 60s flirting with those lower 70s.
Well, Waymo is expanding testing of its self-driving cars to the peninsula. It comes as federal regulators are looking into several new traffic incidents involving those self-driving vehicles. The National Highway Safety Administration launched a probe earlier this month into the Google-owned Robo taxi company. It cited 22 incidents where Waymo cars got into an accident or violated traffic laws. And last Thursday, the agency said learned of 9 more cases, including one in San Francisco where a Waymo drove the wrong way on a one-way street. The office says it's not aware of any injuries in any of those cases. And as Kenny Choi reports, there's one particular spot in San Francisco that, well, Waymo cars seem to have a tough time navigating.
Rosemary DeSena has lived in San Francisco's Telegraph neighborhood for decades.
We have a main thoroughfare and a lot of small streets that feed into it with a lot of weird directionals, 5-way streets and that kind of stuff.
She chooses to walk when she can and is acutely aware of her surroundings lately with more robo-taxis passing by.
I've just noticed a lot of driverless cars getting stuck.
Brian Culbertson, who was visiting Coit Tower nearby, recorded and posted on X this video of a Waymo getting stuck at the turnaround on Greenwich Street. He declined to be interviewed on camera. Residents know the tight turn at the dead end can present some issues.
This turnaround is hard for everybody because they don't know that it's a turnaround.
Ahmed Banafa is a professor of engineering at San Jose State.
People are using them, and that's why you hear about more problems, because you discover new scenarios that they never thought about it.
Banafa believes each hiccup is a chance for Waymo to improve its product and acknowledge imperfections along the way.
The company should be upfront about it and fix it and say, we know what's wrong with this scenario. We fixed it. It's not going to happen again.
Please close the.
Despite the latest bump in the road, Banafa believes SB 915
A bill that would give local governments authority over where robo-taxis can be deployed would create a nightmare where an autonomous vehicle would be allowed in one city and then stopped at the border of the next city that might not allow AVs. Residents like Eileen Icardi have witnessed stranded Waymos too.
I have seen Waymo cars come in and go at too sharp of an angle and then stop and not know what to do.
But she also sees the upside of driverless taxis, like for her daughter-in-law who takes late-night trips as a nurse.
I didn't have to deal with a driver that I didn't know getting in a foreign car. I just got in, said where I was going, and it took me there very smoothly.
This pedestrian crossing a street in North Beach shook her head in disbelief as the Waymo rightfully stopped and turned after the path cleared.
My modus operandi is to wait for those cars to pass in traffic before I make my moves crossing as a pedestrian.
Some are very comfortable with the white robo-taxis expanding across the Bay Area. Rosemary DeSena is cautious.
Waymo did not respond to our specific questions about the stranded cars, but it did address the federal investigation, saying it will continue to work with the NHTSA. In a statement, Waymo said they currently serve more than 50,000 weekly trips in some of the most complex environments, and they are proud of their performance and safety record. They added they are committed to transparency when it comes to safety. And the NHTSA has also launched a probe into Amazon robotaxi company that is Zoox. Two of those vehicles were rear-ended after suddenly braking in traffic. And the agency is also looking into Cruise, which had its permits to operate in California pulled. State regulators said Cruise misled them about an accident where the car hit and dragged a woman who was thrown into its path by another car. In the meantime, the state bill that will let local governments weigh in on robotaxi operations on their streets has passed the Senate floor and will be taken up by the state assembly. In Antioch, we've talked a lot about the police department's staffing crisis. The city has dealt with the fallout from state and federal investigations into officer misconduct. The case focuses on allegations of racist and homophobic text messages. Nearly half the department was temporarily put on leave after the discovery, with several eventually being arrested. Former police chief Stephen Ford resigned amid the fallout. But now, in a sign of progress, a traffic officer is patrolling the streets once again for the first time in more than a year. Wilson Walker caught up with the unit of one who's working hard to keep the roads safe.
So these marks, that actually indicates the tire friction mark on the motorcycle when it slammed on the brakes, and it goes for 120 feet.
Sergeant Robert Green is literally picking up the pieces after an accident that seriously injured a motorcyclist who collided with one car before being hit by another that left the scene.
Hit the motorcyclist and actually dragged the motorcyclist. So now I'm trying to find any evidence and any cameras or anything in the area that will help me identify the other vehicle.
The investigation is now in Sergeant Green's hands, as he is the sole member of the newly relaunched Antioch Police Department Traffic Unit.
I'm responsible for doing traffic enforcement during the day. I also get called in when we have a significant crash like this.
So it's back to the station for the investigative part of this incident.
And so this is the car. I have everyone else. This is the car I need to find and figure out why it didn't stay on scene.
And he really is doing it all. He pulled together the funding from the State Office of Traffic Safety for the new bikes and LiDAR equipment.
These are much smaller. You just look through the viewfinder.
And he's picked up the investigations into major accidents, single-handedly rebooting the traffic division after it was closed for more than a year and a half because of staffing issues.
I end up recovering a lot of stolen cars. It's not a secret. Right now, we have a lot of stolen cars in the city of Antioch.
He also becomes part of Antioch's ongoing effort against sideshows, something that has plagued neighbors in recent years.
They do it during the day too. Kids are playing. You see kids walking up and down the street, and like my child that drops a ball in the street, runs out in the street. You don't know when it's coming.
I think after COVID, there's been, and OTS will back this up. There's been data that shows that there's been more dangerous driving after COVID. mainly because there wasn't any patrolling on any traffic laws during that time.
As for doing it all alone, Green says he does get help from within the department and beyond.
Anytime I send out a social media post or I put anything out, I'll get tons of calls, and I have community people in the community that will point me in the right direction. So I'm not by myself. The community is vested in this as well. They're very vested in traffic safety.
And he says he doesn't mind picking up the extra slack. He is just happy to see the unit up and rolling again.
Sergeant Green should be getting some reinforcements. Antioch PD hopes to have a second motorcycle officer sometime in the next few weeks. The long-term goal is to have 4 officers in the unit. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, it's hard enough to get home insurance in California. Why one local hotel owner says even the state's pending insurance reforms might not be enough to save his business. Plus, seniors put out of their living center after sewage spews through the floors of their building. Residents say that's only part of the problem. And he had a big role in the fight for farm workers' rights. Now his story is being put in the spotlight.
I feel lucky to sit with brilliant women every morning who are helping me to level up body, mind, heart, and soul.
There is energy and good mornings and hello, how's your day started? It's just a really nice vibe and a really fun way to wake up.
It's rejuvenating, honestly, having a team that's excited about news and storytelling.
It is so fun to laugh and to say, look, there is a lighter side to life.
They're like my new best friends.
Wake up with the Morning Edition, weekdays on KPIX.
In the next 6 to 10 days, we're going to be sitting above average all throughout the state of California, and here in the Bay, we're definitely going to notice it. Daytime highs are expected to jump all the way up into the upper 80s as early as tomorrow, lasting into our Thursday forecast. We kind of average out for a little bit as we catch a breath of fresh air into this weekend, but just into next week, we have another big warm up right around the corner. That's our inland areas. We notice that along the Bay too, just not nearly as drastic when it comes to those hot temperatures. We'll see 70s, for example, Wednesday into Thursday. We'll continue to watch a nice little warm up into early next week with some partly cloudy skies around the corner.
Well, it's no secret that insurance is becoming hard to come by for a lot of California homeowners as major carriers are leaving the state, but it may be hitting businesses even harder, especially in those wildfire-prone areas. John Ramos introduces us to a business owner in the North Bay who says chasing after insurance policies and making it harder to pursue his dreams.
It is the natural beauty that brings people to places like Guerneville, and that's good for the businesses that operate here. But it's also the very thing that makes them vulnerable to California's insurance crisis. It's another beautiful Memorial Day on the Russian River, and the streets of Guerneville are bustling. That should make this a profitable weekend for Bryce Schofield's bed and breakfast, but instead, it may be just enough for him to break even.
Switching careers and going into a totally different industry and buying a property like this, of course, you have a lot of worries. Insurance was not on the list, to be honest with you.
Bryce opened his Mine and Farm Inn in 2019, just days before the Kincaid fire broke out and a few months before the pandemic closed things down. But as those obstacles passed, insurance became the biggest problem.
And we noticed right away that the prices were going up exponentially. So we've seen it's been 222% increase since we bought the place in price.
While there are plenty of trees on the property and in the neighborhood, Bryce doesn't feel like it's a particularly dangerous location. He's installed a 5,000-gallon water tank with sprinklers on the roof and all over the 3-acre lot. The land is surrounded on 3 sides by the Corbell Winery vineyards and sits right next to a CAL FIRE station. Still, he's had his insurance dropped by a number of different companies and has now joined the overburdened California FAIR plan as the insurer of last resort.
I don't think it's a personal thing. I think that we've just gotten caught up in this fire bureaucracy, and them just wanting to pull out of the market.
Insurance broker and analyst Carl Sussman says as bad as things may be for homeowners, it's even worse for businesses because there are fewer carriers offering that kind of coverage. But he says efforts now underway in Sacramento to reform the way insurance is priced may bring more competition back to the state market.
The good news is I can tell you for the first time in a really long time that in the next several months, quarters, or certainly early next year, we're going to see a dramatically different insurance market than we see right now.
While Bryce thinks that may make insurance more available, he's skeptical that it will bring the cost down much. And though he's earned almost nothing from the business, he really doesn't have much choice. His dream of operating a bucolic country inn may have come true, but keeping it insured has been a rude awakening. Do you ever question whether this was a good idea?
Absolutely. You have to. You're so focused on giving such a great quality product, but there's a point too where you're like, well, how much can I take of this? How long can I, stay committed to this endeavor before I start losing some of the basic principles of why I started to do this in the first place?
It's just one man's experience, but it is a common problem for many businesses that have the threat of wildfire hanging over them.
And the plan to reform the insurance market called the Sustainable Insurance Strategy was supposed to be finalized by the end of the year, but Governor Newsom announced some parts of the plan could be implemented in the next month or two. Dozens of seniors in the East Contra Costa County spent Memorial Day in a hotel after a sewage leak shut down their entire building. The residents tell our Lauren Toms while this flooding was a first, they also say conditions at the facility have been going downhill for a while.
Over the last 6 years, Jamie Klee has adopted dozens of seniors at the Oak Grove Senior Terrace as her own grandparents, and they've adopted her right back.
So I'm not just fighting for one, I'm fighting for the whole building.
Her grandmother and other residents are spending the night in a nearby hotel after a stalled elevator call turned into an evacuation of at least 50 residents and their pets when firefighters found sewage leaking into an electrical room from an upstairs unit.
It makes me feel horrible. Yeah, because they don't deserve it. Just because they're low income, they don't deserve to live like this.
Residents told CBS News Bay Area they could smell a stench of dark sewage mixed with gas seeping into the floors. They anxiously await word when they can return home, when they're told can come within a day or two, but they don't expect it for at least a week.
We called the emergency line, and it says they were unavailable.
The Oaks emergency line
is not available. Please leave a message after the tone.
They don't deserve to live like this. They pay their rent. They do everything they need to be doing.
It's a pattern residents like Peter Brise has intensified over the last decade. He lives in a unit above where sewage was found pouring from the bathroom. He says he could smell the odors from several floors up.
We shouldn't have to go through this. We're not a commodity, we're people.
Peter, like most residents, is fearful of retaliation for speaking to media, but he says he has nowhere else to go.
I'm on Social Security. I only have a certain amount of money, and I can't afford any of the places that I would like to live. And You know, I've been there 10 years and they've raised my rent to $500. You know, and what do I get from it? It's a rundown place. No, I just wish something could be done about the circumstances. And I'm probably going to get kicked out because of this.
Deputy Fire Marshal Steve Aubert was part of the team that responded to the elevator call. He says the situation ended up taking most of the day after it snowballed into a hazmat operation.
It's most likely sewage that was backed up in some type of pipe and then came out through the bathtub, through the toilet, through the kitchen sink. Everything inside this apartment was pretty much flooded when they made entry.
He says most residents use wheelchairs or walkers and had to be assisted down several flights of stairs, including Peter. But for Jamie, she won't stop fighting for her grandmother and her community.
They're scared of retaliation. They're scared of losing their homes. They're scared of being homeless at 80-something years old. Their pets not having a home, and it's terrifying for them. So it's heartbreaking. It truly is heartbreaking.
Making sure their voices are heard.
We reached out to the property management company Wynn, but have not heard back from them. Still ahead, meet the woman teaching the history of Filipino Americans through the pages of the book and now songs of a musical play.
I think that this is a story for anybody who's an American, just like the Boston Tea Party. We learn about it is absolutely essential to America's identity.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today. This is Pix Plus. More of what you want, more often. More local news in the morning and the primetime edition. The only 8 and 9 p.m. news with Devin Feely, Elizabeth Cook, Juliette Goodrich, and Sarah Dauchi. Groundbreaking original storytelling from the KPIX newsroom. Plus Bear Politics, Project Earth, and weather like you've never seen. The primetime edition. Weeknights on the new Pix Plus. 44 Cable 12.
woke up to that May gray this morning, but heading into this afternoon, we clear up fast. We'll see sunny skies off into our inland areas with daytime highs sitting in the 70s near Antioch. The more north we go, the warmer it gets, especially all the way up into Santa Rosa, where we're actually expecting 80s this afternoon. A beautiful day for us today, but watch what happens as we head into the next couple of days. These 70s that we have all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley, we're going to warm up into the 80s, potentially even seeing some 90s in our inland areas right around the corner. So this is what it's looking like. Our inland forecast showing plenty of sunshine into the next couple days as high pressure moves its way in. That gives us upper 80s for Wednesday and Thursday, averaging out slowly into our weekend forecast, still with all that sunshine. But that's not necessarily the case along the coast or the bay. If you live closer to Oakland or Berkeley, we'll also warm up into the upper 70s into Wednesday and Thursday, averaging out with upper 60s and low 70s into this weekend. Those partly cloudy skies holding on a lot tighter to the bay shoreline compared to some of our inland areas.
A little-known labor hero and the Filipino Americans who march alongside him finally received their long-overdue recognition. Their story moving from the pages of a children's book to a theater stage production in San Francisco last month. I had a chance to catch up with the cast and crew as they brought to life the story of Larry Itilong. You can feel the tension coming from Gail Romasanta as she watches the cast and crew tweak and fine-tune her creation, bringing it to life on stage.
So this is kind of like the really stressful time because we're so crunched up with time.
It is a journey that began 5 years ago when Gail, along with her friend, the late Dr. Don Mabalon, wrote a children's book telling the story of Philippine immigrants who arrived in America only to find themselves working in the Central Valley fields as laborers.
Larry wasn't sure if he would ever become a lawyer, but he could still help people get justice.
And the Larry she is talking about is Larry Itilong, who organized the Filipino farm workers starting the 1965 Delano grape strike and joining forces with Cesar Chavez, co-founding the United Farm Workers.
I think that this is a story for anybody who's an American, just like the Boston Tea Party. We learn about it is absolutely essential to America's identity. This story, Filipino Americans in labor history, should also be central to who the United States is and what American schools teach.
And now, Larry Itilong's story will go from the pages of a book to a theater production on stage called Larry the Musical. For actors Amar Cabling and Kylie Abuke, it is a chance for them to tell an authentic story about their own history.
What it means to do this show about Filipino American history is very rare because not many shows are done with Filipino actors.
Feels like we're very much doing this with our ancestors, with our community, with our people. We're not alone in doing this, and I think that's the best part of it.
Gail hopes the tension of rehearsal will turn into a moment of reflection.
I haven't had that moment where I get to sink into a chair, watch it, and just wonder what happened the last 5 years. I haven't gotten there yet, and I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to seeing her creation come to life on stage. So exciting. But more importantly, looking forward to an audience watching and learning about a true American experience. And Larry the Musical had a very successful run, 1 month run at the Brava Theater in the Mission District. It was a fabulous show. They're now hoping it sparked enough interest to get picked up and go on tour. For more stories highlighting the Bay Area's AAPI communities, just head to KPIX.com. You can also watch our special Roots and Resilience on our YouTube channel. Just search KPIX or CBS News Bay Area. Coming up in our next half hour, there's a shift in the Bay Area's away from gas appliances and toward all electric. How this Bay Area city is working to get ready for the change. And we're hearing from the owner of a East Bay lumber business that went up in flames over the weekend, and the neighbors who say they feared the worst.
Why are more people turning to KPIX Late Night? 2 reasons. Sarah and Stephen. The Late News with Sarah Donchi. Then The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Back with all new episodes.
Really?
2 shows you'll want to spend the night with.
Then go to sleep knowing you won at TV. What?
Record it, stream it, watch it live. The Late News and the all-new Late Show. Weeknights starting at 11 on KPIX.
I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute. A homicide suspect's in custody after an hours-long standoff in San Jose. Police found the body of a woman after responding to a possible shooting just after 6 p.m. at North 20th Street and East San Juan. Investigators say the suspect surrendered after barricading himself inside the home. Around 50 residents of a senior living center in Oakland have been displaced after a sewage leak was found. That leak was discovered at the Oak Grove Senior Terrace on Sunday. No word yet on when they can return. Property management company Wynn did not return our request for comment. OpenAI revealed a new safety committee today. This comes weeks after the company dissolved a team focused on AI safety. That new committee will be led by CEO Sam Altman and a few board members. OpenAI says its first job will be to evaluate the company's processes and safeguards over the next 3 months.
This afternoon along our coastline, we are going to see some gusty conditions. Wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour are expected close to the 3 o'clock hour near Bodega Bay. About a 30 mile per hour wind gust expected just near San Francisco at the same hour. We'll see breezy conditions all throughout the afternoon and evening hours today. But the other big weather story for us, it actually has to do with the heat right around the corner. Daytime highs are going to be above average as we head into this upcoming week, getting closer to the first couple days of June. We are showing well above average conditions throughout the whole state of California, pretty much all the West Coast. That's issued by the Climate Prediction Center, but take a look at this. This is what it's going to look like for us. Let's use San Jose as an example. 80s in the forecast as we head into our Thursday setup. We'll average out a little bit into the weekend, and then we warm right back up into the upper 80s right around the corner. But that's not where we're at today. Today, we're still holding on tight to the 60s near San Francisco, 70s up into the North Bay, at least near Petaluma. We hit the 80s near Santa Rosa, and all the way over into the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley we go. We're expecting mostly 70s from Antioch down into Livermore, a similar setup just near San Jose. But watch what happens throughout all of our inland areas throughout the next 7 days. We'll see a lot of sunshine in the forecast for us. Day by day, we warm up quick. I mean, just into our Thursday forecast, we're expecting upper 80s right around the corner. It starts to average out as we head into our weekend forecast with 70s by Saturday, 80s right back into our Sunday setup. Now, that's our inland areas. If you live closer to the Bay or the coast, San Francisco and Oakland, we're going to be seeing some upper 70s as early as Wednesday into Thursday. Plenty of sunshine there. And then those partly cloudy skies, especially along the coastline, kind of hold on tight to us heading into our weekend forecast with upper 60s flirting with those lower 70s.
Well, starting in 2027, the Bay Area will begin a gradual phase out of gas appliances. To help prepare, the city of San Francisco is rolling out a program that provides free electric hot water heaters for low-income residents. But as Keith Manconi reports, convincing people to get on board will take some work.
Are you aware of do you know what decarbonization is? Decarbonization is like
Latricia Tanner, a nonprofit outreach worker, making the pitch for home electrification in a nail salon in San Francisco's Bayview neighborhood.
Because eventually it's going to have to get done anyway. It's going to be the law.
And that's Anthony Alston, another outreach worker. Together, the pair is chatting up anyone who will speak with them about the city's electrification plans.
Responses I'm getting, people don't know about it. So we're trying to, educate people as much as possible.
Even for Anthony and Latricia, there has been a steep learning curve.
Well, when I first heard electrification, I thought it was getting electrocuted or getting That's just the natural thing for someone to think.
Are you guys homeowners?
In fact, electrifying your home means swapping out gas appliances for electric ones, like induction stovetops.
They do use electricity, but they cook with magnetism.
And electric heat pumps.
We're actually also asking folks to just sign up to get more information.
This event, with its hands-on demonstrations, part of the launch of a new San Francisco program offering low-income residents thousands in rebates to help purchase and install an electric hot water heater.
We're trying to remind everybody, we're like, don't miss out on the raffle.
Seeing it turn out like this, how does it make you feel?
I think it's fantastic. I think a lot of people are very concerned about climate change and their health.
But even with the rebates, not everyone is convinced that it's time to say goodbye to their gas appliances.
Well, we have to see the value. We have to put it on scale. Let's see if it's worth it. Okay, that's all.
And on the other end of things, some others who do want to electrify their homes make too much money to qualify for the city's rebate program, but still need the help. That's the case for homeowner Tiana Frazier, who says she'd like to see the income threshold increased.
I mean, to live in San Francisco on its own is a lot. It's expensive. So any help that I can get, or I'm pretty sure anybody can get, they will be appreciative of that.
Here in the Bay Area, a key set of air quality regulations passed last year are set to take effect in 2027. They will eventually ban the sale of gas furnaces and gas water heaters. Latricia and Anthony worry that many residents are going to be caught unprepared.
Because the future is here. It's coming fast.
Yeah.
And when they don't know about it, they're going to be shocked.
City officials say their rebate program is just ramping up. But with so many people still left to reach, this outreach work is already beginning to feel like a race against time.
An Oakland business owner is trying to pick up the pieces after a huge fire ripped through his lumber yard, and it could have been much worse. Kevin Coe has that story.
Well, that's my filing cabinet, so it's that and the bike.
It was hard for John Bacon to know what was left from this massive fire at his lumber yard. He's owned the property for decades and says he's never had a fire on site until last night. Video from Sunday night at around 8 p.m. shows firefighters battling the 4-alarm fire, which torched a warehouse holding lumber, drywall, and construction supplies. Oakland Fire Battalion Chief Lionel Giroux says nearly 100 firefighters were on site.
That's definitely one of our exposures that we had from the lumberyard was the gas station.
Sam Jabril is a manager at the neighboring gas station and was here last night.
Called 911. They came within, I would say, less than 5 minutes. By the time they get here, it was spreading out of control, shooting up to the roof. and they've been working on it since. I was worried about, we got over like close to 30,000 gallons of gasoline, and I was worried it's gonna move.
Oakland Fire tells us the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Firefighters are still working through the damage, with the entire warehouse and showroom at Economy Lumber Company coming down.
The entire building is going to come down because it's not stable. It's too dangerous. We can't send crews in there. We had floor collapse on the second floor.
John Bacon is still figuring out just how much was lost at his lumber yard. Firefighters were able to chainsaw through his filing cabinet to retrieve some documents, but no matter the final amount of damage, he plans to rebuild.
I love Oakland. There's some problems downtown, I think, but I love Oakland.
Firefighters say it'll likely be a few days until investigators determine what caused all of this.
Up next, bringing a forgotten art out of the woodwork. The woodshop come back on one Bay Area campus and how a determined teacher gave her students the tools to explore new trade skills.
These are your neighborhoods. This is your world. CBS News Bay Area.
And still ahead on KPI.
With Juliette Goodrich. And the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. Taking you to the day's top stories. Smart, comprehensive coverage. And immersive weather like you have never seen it. Join Juliette Goodrich and Nora O'Donnell. Weeknights 6 to 7:30 on KPIX.
Heading into the next 6 to 10 days, we're going to be sitting above average all throughout the state of California, and here in the Bay, we're definitely going to notice it. Daytime highs are expected to jump all the way up into the upper 80s as early as tomorrow, lasting into our Thursday forecast. We kind of average out for a little bit as we catch a breath of fresh air into this weekend, but just into next week, we have another big warm up right around the corner. That's our inland areas. We notice that along the Bay too, just not nearly as drastic when it comes to those hot temperatures. We'll see 70s, for example, Wednesday into Thursday. We'll continue to watch a nice little warm up into early next week with some partly cloudy skies around the corner.
Students at a middle school in Pleasant Hill are getting a break from the books to take a more hands-on approach. If you've been around long enough, you may remember taking woodshop. I do, but the elective has been disappearing from California schools over the last few decades. Len Ramirez shows us how it's making a comeback on one campus, all thanks to one dedicated teacher.
When these 7th graders file into Nicole Manisevich's woodshop class, they are working with their minds and their hands.
This is the edge router, so it's very easy. You just use 2 hands on it, and you just go across the edge of your piece.
Kyle Mueller is making drink coasters, and Autumn Kelly is polishing off a new chessboard.
I love woodworking. It's really great being able to put all these big pieces together to make something really pretty like this.
It wasn't long ago that this wood shop at Valley View Middle School in Pleasant Hill was in mothballs. It was closed for 8 years after the previous shop teacher retired. It was part of a larger trend to move away from industrial tech classes in California schools amid budget cuts, teacher shortages, and shifting priorities.
Just last summer, this whole spot here was just completely filled with desks, chairs, any kind of leftover stuff. It was just a big storage facility. It was not workable. We had no tools. Everything was poached, except for maybe the big machines that were too heavy to move.
Nicole took on the challenge of restarting the program to give kids more options.
I feel like now is the time for these kind of programs. There seems to be more backing, more interest, not only district-wide, but I think beyond. How far from the fence was it?
But it wasn't easy. The biggest problem was finding a shop teacher. Nicole taught English, but took woodworking classes at night so she could teach shop herself.
Got it.
She found skilled mentors in the community to help students with the finer points and reached out to retailers and Rotary clubs to help equip the shop with the latest tools and safety gear.
Hands-on learning where the kids get to physically move around is a style learning, kinesthetic learning, but really these are applicable skills. You can transfer these skills onto anything, whether it's not just job related, but also just around your home, fixing things for yourself, knowing how machines work, knowing how to be safe around machines. There's math skills, there's science skills. I mean, this is STEM. We're talking about wanting to do STEM. This is exactly it, these kind of programs.
Of course, safety lessons get pounded into each student before they're allowed to work the power tools.
Power stand first, then switch to hand sanding.
Kyle says the skills he's learning here will help him in the future.
Since I learned this, I know like different trades, and I know how to do like metalworking and like wood shop. I'm gonna like keep learning this stuff.
And Autumn says it's a great way to get the mind refreshed during the school day.
It's a lot different than any other class in this school, and it brings a lot of kids a lot of enjoyment.
Woodshop, the type of class that used to be in almost every school but got swept away, now making a comeback.
And while many students may primarily use their newfound woodworking skills at home or as a hobby, carpenters in California, well, they earned an average of nearly $70,000 in 2022, and carpenters in the Bay Area earned about $80,000. Bottle Rock just wrapped up in Napa Valley with Ed Sheeran headlining the final night. The 3-day festival offered a bunch of food, wine, and of course, some music. This is Mexican rock band Maná playing at the main stage on Saturday. And even though this year's festival is done, organizers wasted no time in announcing details for next year. Bottle Rock is selling a limited number of pre-sale tickets now for 2025. They're priced at $426 each, including fees, and are available on a first-come, first-served basis at BottleRockNapaValley.com. Next year's festival runs from May 23rd to the 25th. Coming up, supporting artists and representing community through art.
I'm incredibly grateful that I have been able to continually do this and to support artists.
We'll introduce you to a San Francisco art collector focused on creating inclusive spaces.
I would like to see the headlines that the national press picks up on and say, look, there's another side to the Bay Area.
We take those headlines a little step further to sort of connect all these wonderful communities here.
The Bay Area is full of some amazing, innovative change makers, some people who are not giving up, they're going forward.
In fact, I feel privileged that I get to share those stories.
Wake up with the Morning Edition, weekdays on KPIX.
to that May gray this morning, but heading into this afternoon, we clear up fast. We'll see sunny skies off into our inland areas with daytime highs sitting in the 70s near Antioch. The more north we go, the warmer it gets, especially all the way up into Santa Rosa, where we're actually expecting 80s this afternoon. A beautiful day for us today, but watch what happens as we head into the next couple of days. These 70s that we have all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley, we're going to warm up into the 80s, potentially even seeing some 90s in our inland areas right around the corner. So this is what it's looking like. Our inland forecast showing plenty of sunshine into the next couple days as high pressure moves its way in. That gives us upper 80s for Wednesday and Thursday, averaging out slowly into our weekend forecast, still with all that sunshine. But that's not necessarily the case along the coast or the bay. If you live closer to Oakland or Berkeley, we'll also warm up into the upper 70s into Wednesday and Thursday, averaging out with upper 60s and low 70s into this weekend. Those partly cloudy skies holding on a lot tighter to the bay shoreline compared to some of our inland areas.
All month long, we've been highlighting stories from the Asian American and Pacific Islander community for AAPI Heritage Month. And today, Sean Chitnis has the story of a woman who set out to create a more inclusive and approachable art gallery in San Francisco.
Cecilia Chia says there's something special about San Francisco that made it possible to build a space for emerging artists in the Bay Area. Born and raised in the city, it means a lot that she can be the one providing them that platform as the founding director of this gallery.
It's kind of a surreal feeling. You know, when I started Glass Rice, I didn't know how long it was going to last.
The current exhibition, Big Bloom, highlights many AAPI artists, including some based in San Francisco.
She paints a lot about her Korean American experience.
Cecilia says she didn't set out to spotlight any one particular group, just those who were looking for support and who she admired. Cecilia found a lot of them by looking on Instagram. Many of those artists turned out to be women and people of color.
It's just beautiful the way that she paints.
Cecilia went to an all-girls Catholic school from kindergarten to 10th grade.
I did feel like I was missing something.
She decided to attend an international school in Beijing for the rest of high school. It's there she discovered her passion, inspired at the time by Chinese contemporary art.
It was so fun. It was truly like an incredible experience. I met people from all over the world.
Then in college, she studied in New York, finding the art world to be exclusive.
It was hard to ask questions. You know, even when I had to do this for homework, I was like terrified.
Cecilia's time in China and on the East Coast together inspired what would become Glass Rice, a place that embraced her hometown's history of innovation toward the arts.
I want to create a space in coming back to San Francisco that is warm, is welcoming.
And she continues to expand that effort with a new concept store at her gallery.
In starting Strip Mall, I wanted to make art more accessible.
In addition to the art on the wall, guests can buy one-of-a-kind handmade pieces on display in the gallery's second room.
It's still a piece of art and something that you can take home at a more affordable price.
Helping more people to get excited about art and even start collecting.
When you have that just super innate connection to it, that's beautiful.
A journey from coast to coast and the other side of the world to showcase art how she believes it was always meant to be celebrated.
And I'm incredibly grateful that I have been able to continually do this and to support artists and to have a space that people feel welcome and inspired by. It's the greatest feeling on earth.
And for more stories highlighting the Bay Area's AAPI communities, head to kpix.com. You can also watch our special Roots and Resilience on our YouTube channel. Just search KPIX or CBS News Bay Area. Okay, now for a look at some of today's most talked about stories. EDM producer Skrillex is teaming up with London-based producer Fred again for a show at San Francisco's Civic Center Plaza this Saturday. Skrillex took a social media teasing musical collaborations with Fred. Fred again is coming off a huge success headlining EDC in Las Vegas. A New York boy is believed to be the youngest recipient of a bionic arm. 5-year-old Jordan Arata was born without a left hand. And when things got a little more difficult, his mother reached out to a robotics company. Their 3D printed prosthetics are lined with electrodes that detect muscle contractions and convert them to hand movements. Jordan tried it on, and they found he could move the prosthetic and seemed mature enough to care for it. And a British tradition drew competitors to the west of England. Look at these people. These daredevils charge downhill for a cheese rolling competition. The rules are simple. First to the bottom of the hill wins. This 9-pound wheel of double Gloucester's cheese is the bragging rights. About 5,000 people came to watch the show. Oh dear Lord. This competition began centuries ago. No one really knows why it started. Probably a bunch of drunk people. Anyway, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your first alert forecast and a look at your top stories. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is a minute. A homicide suspects in custody after an hours-long standoff in San Jose. Police found the body of a woman after responding to a possible shooting just after 6 p.m. at North 20th Street and East San Juan. Investigators say the suspect surrendered after barricading himself inside the home. The man convicted of attacking Paul Pelosi was again sentenced to 30 years in prison. This after appearing today for resentencing due to a court error, where DePape wasn't able to speak. Earlier this month, David DePape was sentenced to 50 years in his federal case. New numbers on the amount of fentanyl seized in California. Governor Newsom's office announcing today that around 5.8 million pills have been seized statewide this year. 2.3 million of those was last month alone. The state attributes the seizures to its new counter-drug task force.
Heading into this afternoon along our coastline, we are going to see some gusty conditions. Wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour are expected close to the 3 o'clock hour near Bodega Bay. About a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust expected just near San Francisco at the same hour. We'll see breezy conditions all throughout the afternoon and evening hours today. But the other big weather story for us, it actually has to do with the heat right around the corner. Daytime highs are going to be above average as we head into this upcoming week, getting closer to the first couple days of June. We are showing well above average conditions throughout the whole state of California, pretty much all the West Coast. That's issued by the Climate Prediction Center, but take a look at this. This is what it's going to look like for us. Let's use San Jose as an example. 80s in the forecast as we head into our Thursday setup. We'll average out a little bit into the weekend, and then we warm right back up into the upper 80s right around the corner. But that's not where we're at today. Today, we're still holding on tight to the 60s near San Francisco, 70s up into the North Bay, at least near Petaluma. We hit the 80s near Santa Rosa, and all the way over into the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley we go. We're expecting mostly 70s from Antioch down into Livermore, a similar setup just near San Jose. But watch what happens throughout all of our inland areas throughout the next 7 days. We'll see a lot of sunshine in the forecast for us. Day by day, we warm up quick. I mean, just into our Thursday forecast, we're expecting upper 80s right around the corner. It starts to average out as we head into our weekend forecast with 70s by Saturday, 80s right back into our Sunday setup. Now, that's our inland areas. If you live closer to the Bay or the coast, San Francisco and Oakland, we're going to be seeing some upper 70s as early as Wednesday into Thursday.